Marcos, we are here talking about visions. You are one of the most visionary architects and theorists about architecture, not only about digital architecture, but architecture in general. Which is your point of view upon this event that takes place in Florence?
Well, I think it's an extraordinary event, and I think it's unlike anything I know in Italy. It's one of a kind, and it's been around for quite some time now too, which is wonderful to see. And I think it's been instrumental in helping happen a transformation, a kind of revolution that we're seeing when the festival began. Many of the things that we were talking about were visions that had not happened. And I think in the time that's passed, many of those things have become real and have become the state, the status quo in a way. So that's exciting as a success, a kind of anticipation and success. And I think it's really nice to be here again and at this moment, because I think it's a moment where you need another strong vision. When the first chapter finishes, it's time to begin the next one.
You said to me a few weeks ago that it's important to focus our ideas in time more and more because the realm changes. So it's important to continuously postpone our visionary attitude in order to restart a process of visioning and somehow to focus our ideas, writing them to the possible words that those ideas can create. Some of those ideas, sometimes they don't take place, they disappear. You just said something about visions that became something real, but some of, for example, the preliminary investigations and theoretical investigation in digital architecture never took place. What about them?
I don't know. I think when a person decides to become part of a visionary project, then I think it's a decision. Because everyone can choose what to do, and we can all choose something more normal, more conventional, more immediate, and you have to be pretty willful to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look farther. But then you also have to be stubborn, because vision is also a consumable. It's something that the media like. We're talking in front and under the media right now. So there's a desire for visions that are consumable. But if you really want something to happen, it may take longer than the attention span of the media. And you have to know that. And you say, okay, this is the project, this is what we're doing. It may happen in this cycle, it may happen 5 cycles later. I don't know that you can be discouraged easily. So I think, and we saw it yesterday actually very beautifully last night in this festival, which is one of the nice things about this festival. We saw the videos from the new Domesticity show from the 70s, from Italy here. And I think they must have been astounding when they first came out. And I think after a certain moment, they may have been forgotten. But seeing them again yesterday made them fresh. They're really pretty amazing. And it's been decades.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a very special kind of life.
And I think I think what's really interesting about the festival is that it's an archive. So it becomes a record of visions, some of which become realized quickly, and others which will become realized. And we'll, at some point, if they are in an archive and they can be found, we can come back to them at some other future festival in the year 2059 and see what it is.
Which is the project that you made that mostly focused on the possibility that vision can offer. I mean, which is a project from you that can better interpret the need for the world of architecture to have visions. Probably many works, but
probably many, because also in my own mind, there are moments at which what I'm working on become visible, and that's what people know. But in my mind, they're not really disconnected. So it's hard for me to say which is the project, because it's all the project, and it has different. But there are many things that I've said and written that have become quite well known and quite well received. But I think for all of that, it's still the easier things that have been absorbed, and the harder things still aren't. So I've did things with higher dimensional space and invisible space, which I'm still doing, and biological, the allobio that was in the 2004 Biennale, which is now everywhere. Everything is genetic now, and nanotechnology, and all of those things are. They get absorbed a little bit, they get forgotten for something new, then they come back. I think the most surprisingly large success for me was last year in Torino at the World Congress of the UIA, the International Union of Architects, where the theme for the whole Congress was transmitting architecture. And Transmitting Architecture was a paper that I wrote in 1995, and specifically connected it somehow. I don't know how I had done it. I had connected it to the Futurists, which started in Torino before even Milano, in terms of their public presentation. And a paper that, when I first wrote it, when I put the words transmitting and architecture together and said that architecture would be transmissible, didn't make any sense at all. 13 years later, was the theme of the World Congress of Architecture. So I think that's an instance, I think, of vision not as fantasy but as accuracy. I think there are many moments like that. That was a very visible one because it took over the whole theme.
Just one last question. It's about the possibility or the need, according to your opinion, to share visions. Is it important which way we are going towards a world that is in the ability to share visions?
I think
which is the limit of this process?
I hope there's no limit. There shouldn't be a limit, but I think it's absolutely imperative that the sharing of visions is understood. I don't know how we can make significant work if we just work in a limited occasion, just solve a little problem. The way I've always worked, the way I've understood my work, and what I try to tell people, and certainly all my students, is that at any given moment in time, architecture or art or philosophy is like a dinner table. And people are sitting around the table, like a symposium, eating and drinking together, and there's a conversation. And you sit at the table, and you listen for a while to see what the conversation is. And when you've understood, then you say something. And you contribute to the conversation, and the conversation continues. Basically, at any given moment, there is a global dialogue about the nature of the world, the nature of architecture, the nature of truth, the nature of our problems and their solutions. And it's in participating in the dialogue that things become significant. So I may just be making a drawing, but the drawing is part of a world dialogue. I may be having a conversation, but the conversation itself is part of the world dialogue. I make a building, that's part of the world dialogue. Those are the sharings of vision. It's an economy of exchanges of ideas. And it succeeds when the ideas catch fire and they become transmitted outside all of the other economical concerns. It's more about a living system than about any other motivation.
Thank you, Marcos.
Thank you.